It is November, and some of us are hanging our stockings with care. We already started. But you still have garden chores, friends, and it might not necessarily be what you think, because you are going to be prepping for next spring at the same time we are cleaning up this year's shenanigans. And it is really important, if you have animals, to make sure we are going outside and we are getting those prepped for the winter, because those are souls, those are heartbeats. We are responsible for them. So let's go outside, do some November gardening, plant some things, come back some things, arrange some things, and take care of our babies. Hey friends, it's November. I'm in the middle of shooting a different video for you guys about repurposing your mums. I think that video will be out already, so you can go down and check that out. But I am super last minute over here because I've been working just straight through. I've got half things ripped apart, things started. It's going to snow tomorrow, so we need to get things done. Right, Fubias? Phoebe doesn't care. We are tarping everything up. So we're a tarp family. We've got our hostas ripped down and everything is tarped around here. Everything is kind of just protected the best that we can. We still got to move a couple of these pieces like that wishing well out. Those trees we're gonna get rid of because we like to make sure that our stuff is safe. And you know, sometimes investments can be pricey, like patio furniture and stuff, fireplaces, plants, and we want to make sure that everything stays protected just to protect our investment. We've got, these are our pool stairs. The quail coop was here. That's in the garage now. I actually am going to winterize them a little bit, and I'll show you just kind of what we're up to around here November. I actually still have some things to harvest. Now, the things that I have in my winter garden, I can leave with a little bit of snow and it's not going to hurt anything. I was actually out here Christmas Eve last year harvesting carrots and stuff for dinner. So it's not like the end of the world, but I do have some insane turnips and stuff in there. So we're going to actually pull those out with you guys. I'm going to show you what other little things we're up to. Little garden amendments that we're doing. And yeah, let's get to business. So my first order of business is I came out here. This is where all of my fruit is. So I have all of my strawberries in containers in here. I would love to move them in the shed, but I don't want to risk mice burrowing in them. So we're just going to leave them out here. They have burlap and tarps on all of this stuff. So I came in with a big long sheet of burlap and then a couple tarps, weighted it down with some rocks, and I'm really hoping this keeps for the summer. A lot of people do this with in-ground varieties. These are specifically bred container varieties. That means they have not only more tender of roots, but they're a little bit more exposed, if that makes sense. So not only the bed itself is exposing the roots from being able to freeze properly underground and really go dormant, it's also a more overall tender plant because those roots are never going to be as deep and as large as when your plants are in the ground. So I really just want to make sure that these are protected at the top, protected at the base. Before I even went in with burlap, let me show you. Like, there's layers under here. You've got my tarp that's just overall protecting the top of the burlap. The burlap that's actually keeping it warm. And then at the roots, I very, very heavily mulch. Like, there's a thick layer of mulch under there of some straw. So this literally has a 3-layer system to protect my investment, because the $5 piece of burlap and the Dollar Tree tarp cost me all of $6 to protect this bed. The plants were much more than that. And it's the same thing over here. I have a potting bench here that was, I think, almost $200 plus all the gadgets that are inside it. I'm not just, although it's made to withstand, it's literally made out of some of the best wood, I'm not going to let it. I'm going to try and deflect as much as that moisture and that ice. Last year we got just crazy ice. away from my investment. It's worth it. Again, this was a dollar store tarp. It cost me $1 to cover this. I'm going to do it. And now we are going to just try and help my quail a bit. So we decided to move my quail inside. I shouldn't say we. It was actually my spouse who really wanted the quail in the garage for the winter for just extra protection. We have moved all the Christmas stuff up from the basement, so don't mind the Christmas stuff. But basically, our garage has a door on the back. If you're a longtime viewer, you already know this. There's a garage on the back of our house that goes into our backyard. So, because of that, we just have like a different access to and from the house. So we want to have these quail in the garage. If we need to ventilate, we can open the garage door. Of course, we can do all those things. We can keep the coop itself draft free. We can keep it dry and overall give our quail the best chance that we can. They're much tinier than chickens. They get colder faster. They're hardy little birds, but they still, you know, they get cold pretty fast. So this is their hospital tank here. I'm gonna move this out. It's where they go if they get sick. Now I have a piece of plywood that was extra. I didn't go out and buy this. This is literally just kicking around the property. I'm gonna actually cover the sides of it. So my initial plan, and I don't know if anybody knows this, you never want to enclose your coop completely. It has to have ventilation. If it doesn't have ventilation, you risk so many illnesses and basically poisoning your chickens or your birds from the inside out. So I'm going to block this side here. This is the side where the wind can come in and snow and anything mowing and blowing can come through this side. So I really want to make sure that this is covered. My initial thought was to do cardboard and then a tarp. I've decided against that just because I feel like the cardboard is going to hold moisture and that's not something I want to do on the side of my birds. So this actually isn't long enough. I'm going to put a piece of tarp here. It's going to keep it ventilated still at the top. Honestly, this has more than enough ventilation all the way around, but I just want to make sure that the bottom where the quail actually are is covered, dry, and draft free. The one nice thing about this is because it kind of blocks where they are in here, it does kind of block out some light. I can remove it on warmer days, but it does, like today's a pretty drab, dreary day, and we can actually, it's going to get light throughout the day at all different parts. But regardless, that's a good start. I'm going to go grab a tarp it up on this one side. I'm actually going to cut it to size and attach it with clips and stuff just to make sure it's really sturdy and it doesn't blow in the wind. Yes, I started decorating them for Christmas. I'll show you that another time. Okay, so just to show you guys what I've done, and I just encourage you to use whatever materials you have on hand. Unless you have like a coop or something that's going to be there forever, hosting multiple birds and stuff over the years, like maybe put a little bit of money up front, but don't go crazy when you probably have things on hand. Like this is, I just took a board and I put the tarp on top just to block that. And then I used an old dog blanket just to really create a nice warm wind barrier. And hopefully that should take care of this here. There's lots of ventilation on the side still, but that one area is blocked. I might have to, this square here, the door is here, but this square right here, I might have to come through and either tarp or put another piece of plywood. I'm gonna see how the snow blows and stuff once, like this door isn't gonna stay all the way open all winter. That would be crazy. They're definitely gonna, they might as well at that point be out in the elements outside. So yeah, I'm gonna probably come through here and then I'm really going to work today. A clean coop is best when you're starting off winterizing it. So I'm just going to go through and clean a bit, and I'm going to really make sure they have lots of straw tonight. We are going to fill up their feeders with some mealworms and some extra snacks to make sure they have lots of proteins going into the winter. And I even bought them some extra fats too, because we're going to want to have them nice and chunky and fat and ready to go for the winter. So I got them some suet block to throw in there as well to kind of bulk up and beef up. Our next order of business is planting our garlic. These are my heads that I grew last year. I kind of found a variety that I really like. It grows nice big bulbs, as you can see. And we're going to, I've been using them every year. So they grow enough for my family for the winter, but also enough on the side to plant more of my same variety next year. And I'm actually gonna go bigger this year. So I usually only do like a half bed of garlic and that gets us through. I'm gonna do an entire bed of garlic this year. So the first thing I need to do, because we're gonna plant it in that bed right there, I started pulling out some dead stuff. I've got a couple things of spinach left. We're gonna have to get rid of that. Get rid of this trellis. I'm gonna break this off, plant these, amend the beds, cover. So let's get started. I'm actually running out of daylight. My lights are on in the backyard already, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep motoring on. So I'm planting garlic now. I've got my little cloves in my pocket here and I'm ready to go. So I did a whole video on planting garlic, but I've got my 4-inch spade because we're gonna plant 4 inches deep, 4 inches apart, and I'm gonna put 4 inches of mulch on top. So let's get that going now. So if you follow my shorts, you will know that hi, I do see you and we will play. Give me 2 seconds. You'll see that I planted half of my garlic bed. I still have to do the other half. And I went to go put my straw down as mulch and it started snowing and then it never stopped. The culprit, the receipts. So because of that, we had some damage, but I am gonna lift this all. But the garlic's the most important, in my opinion. So I've got my gloves and I'm gonna get to work. I think Phoebe's gonna help me maybe? No. Hi, would you like to help me plant some garlic? She's like, nope. She's had a thing for gloves since she was a puppy. Before I do that, see what happens. I didn't get to these snow peas in time. These are ruined. Now, still edible for birds and other animals. Okay, y'all, I have a very, very good mulch on top of my garlic. Because I was going to tarp it, I decided just not to. I might, if I find the conditions this winter are getting crazy like last year. So what was happening last year, it was snow. The next day it would warm up, but then the nighttime would drop and everything was frozen. I'm telling you, we were in a freeze for a lot of the winter last year. Just this entire backyard was just an ice rink for weeks. The grass was destroyed. Everything was destroyed. I actually used my garden bed last year because she was like a brand new puppy, like fresh puppy. And I would take her starting at like, cause this is our back to come out the back. I would use the garden bed because it was the only thing that wasn't iced over. It had mulch all over it. And I was using it to walk her to the grass here to do her business. So anyways, that's the reason I was going to tarp it. But if I'm finding it's okay conditions, I'm not going to bother. The other thing to note is if you come out here, now in the case of my dog, it's hard to see. I've put fencing along here so she can't get in here. The reason I'm doing that is because if I find holes or things missing off of here, I know there's another animal in my yard taking nesting materials, and I got to keep an eye on that. Now for the fun part, we're going to harvest some of this stuff. The dino kill is actually doing okay, so I'm going to put a tunnel on that, but let's just one thing at a time. Because I have got some radishes peeking. Like, let's just start here. Sorry, these aren't radishes. These are turnips. You guys, look at this turnip. This is as big as my dog's head. This is insanity. Look at this. This is so exciting. Oh my gosh. You guys, I think this one is even bigger. Oh my gosh. I just want to throw out there that this is my first time growing turnips. So this is exciting. I'm going to leave y'all alone because I think these were our 2 biggest ones. I'll finish up and then we'll get to the next thing. I just pulled this random carrot and I think this video is shooting upside down. I don't know what it's doing, but I can tell you that Phoebe wants that carrot. I wanted to take the top off for my quail, but okay, grabby. So I grew daikon radishes this year. And just a couple of cherry bells. only because I knew daikon radishes were going to get nice and big. That would buy me some time while we went on vacation to let them do their thing before I could get to them, because I knew it was going to be a couple of weeks before I got to them. And if you leave radishes for too long, they start to get that woody taste and they're just not really that great. So I needed a variety that took a little bit longer than your standard radish. So I did these daikon radishes and they are beautiful. One thing I've struggled with in the past is root maggot. And at first, as I was pulling them, I was like, oh my gosh, these look so good. But upon further investigation, now I don't know if y'all can see that hole right there. That does look like the only spot on this one per se, but upon further investigation of the other ones. Now, if you don't know what root maggot is, you'll see like these tunnels. And you're going to see tunnels and little pinholes similar to like an apple all along your vegetable. And if you cut one open, you'll see the tunnels. Right now it's gotten cold and it went below freezing. So you're not seeing them prominently, but if this was still warm outside and I cut this open, you would see the worm or the maggot right in there. This is why I don't normally grow radishes. Now, this is a perfect learning opportunity to learn about root maggot. There's not a whole lot that you can do in terms of preventing it, because the root maggot bug itself flies down and it lays its larva inside of your garden bed, and it's the larva that feeds off of your plants. So one of the only ways to correct this problem, and I can do a whole separate video on this. We can talk about ways to kind of try to prevent it, ways to treat it, because I'm going to have to do that. I planted them over there last year, same thing. It doesn't matter because it's airborne, right? You can use beneficial nematodes. You can cover the soil while it's, kind of growing, but sometimes they'll lie right on the stem. Anyways, moral of the story is I'll go in a more extensive video about that, but this is what you're looking for when you're harvesting your plants, root maggot. Pooey. I do think that my quail will eat those. I just got to look a little bit more into it. Okay, so I got this dollar store hoop house. Well, it's a greenhouse kit, whatever. Same thing. There's literally 0 instructions. It came with a piece of plastic and it says with 3 supports. These are my 3 supports and a piece of plastic. So I have to somehow figure out what to do here. So just give me a second. I've decided to do my kale as the greenhouse project. The lettuce does fine on its own. Everything else has been ripped. I'd like to see the kale come to fruition for myself, my birds, and everything else on this property. So let me see if whatever this is from the dollar store works. So I've got my kale here, but the greenhouse is only going to be as wide as my hoops. So I think I'm only about going to be able to get these 2 rows of kale done, which is fine because that one isn't doing the best in comparison to these ones anyways. Like, she just won't give. She just won't give. But anyways, so we're going to do this. So I've got good spacing on them. I guess the question is just how am I getting this to stick? I guess I have 2 options. I can either poke the supports through the plastic or just clip it on. This is definitely dollar store situation. But I mean, I guess it's no different than buying dollar store hula hoops and a dollar store cloth and putting it on. It's just like pre-done for you, and I just kind of have to figure out the rest. Okay, so it's already super windy now. So I actually decided to just reinforce them with some clothes pegs. We'll see how that does, because at this point I'm not overly sure, but we'll see it. We're going to try it out. Why not? It was $1. So we'll see. The one thing that they don't tell you about these hoop houses, greenhouses, oh my God, Phoebe. Like, I turned my back for 2 seconds. The one thing they don't tell you about it is that once you've covered it with plastic or you know, cloth or fabric, whatever you're using, you now have stopped any water. You've stopped any water from being able to come in here. So now, if it rains or anything like that, you basically aren't getting anything in there. The ground itself is going to get wet, which is a plus. So like the ground all around it will get wet, and that will actually force the roots to find water. But if you were looking for an overwater, like, this is why we don't really use these in the summer, because you're just going to fry your plants. So we're going to see how this goes. I'll have to update you guys as we go. And the last thing I really have to do out here to just be finalized for winter and just out of sight, out of mind, is any herbs or spices. So I've got my comfrey plant that I've already cut down and harvest everything off of, and there it's drying inside of my drying rack. I have the rest of this mint. If you have mint in the ground, which I do not, you want to cut it back, leave about 6 inches, heavily mulch it. Mine are in containers. Mine are in containers for a reason, so that they're not spreading like crazy, because I have 4 different varieties of mint. I've got apple mint, chocolate mint, spearmint, and regular menthol mint. So because I don't want that all intertwining and spreading, I've got them in containers. Because I have them in containers, I'm going to want to cut them back for sure. I'm going to want to get some of this dead off. And when I'm done doing that, I am going to want to mulch them as well, possibly burlap if I'm not putting them in somewhere. But if you have the option to put them in a garage, in a shed, somewhere where they're covered from the harsh elements, if you're in somewhere like me who gets snow and minus weather, that's what you're going to want to do. So that'll be my last task before I send you guys off. I'm going to personally cut them, and I'm going to throw them in my garage with some heavy mulch. And that is getting ready for winter. So to recap, in my area in November, so I am Southern Ontario, Zone 6A. I get hard frosts, very, very cold winters, lots of snow and possible ice. You want to make sure you are planting things that need to be planted to start next spring, such as garlic. You want to cut back all of your perennials, such as hostas and any flowers and stuff that need cut back. And you want to give those a chance to direct the energy back into the roots to sleep for the winter. You want to cover anything with cold frames or frost cloths that need to do that. You want to mulch heavily in spaces that you need to, so around cutbacks and things like that. Any herbs or mints or fruits that you have, make sure you're pruning those appropriately, mulching those, covering those. Most importantly, like I said, you want to make sure that those animals are taken care of. And one more piece of advice. You want to take down obviously all of your garden decor, statues, things on the fence. You don't want anything rusting over it, especially down your fence or cracking in the cold. T-posts or vining system, trellis systems. I get questions whether you should remove those. That is totally up to you. So I use T-posts and hog panels. I do rotational gardening, crop rotation. So I'm not going to have tomatoes in this bed next year. I did tomatoes in the bed this year, and I'm going to rotate my crops, meaning this trellis is not going to be here next year. So personally, why would I keep this here? It's just going to like sit out here in the elements for absolutely no reason when it's not even sitting this bed. So off camera, I'm also going to move these. Any delicate trellises that you have. So I'm not sure if you guys remember, but I had these bamboo sticks with this type of roping system on it for trellis. You're going to want to bring those inside because weather is going to just wear and tear on these and snap these. Another thing people don't think of, any power tools and stuff that you have that have batteries or anything like that, we take those in the winter. We don't want anything sketchy freezing or anything like that. Remember when I talked about protecting your assets, protecting your investments? That's one of those. Batteries are, well, for the Roby, they're cheap. That's why we buy them. But Sometimes if you got Milwaukee's or DeWalt's, that's not cheap. Bring that stuff in. What's it really hurting by walking them inside? But the moral of this story is everyone is so focused on spring prep, spring amendments, spring gardening that they forget about sometimes some of the prep that we do the year before or the season before in order to get us there. But I now have a garden that is resting. I don't have a puppy that is resting. This winter I really need to like whip her because like what is this nonsense? My last dog did not do this. My last dog was a good girl. What are you doing? You're a turd. We're gonna whip you into shape this summer. Or this winter. Yeah. But we're ready to rest. My birds, I am not forcing them to lay. I am not giving them supplemental lighting this year. Last year, see what I mean about the wind here? We're gonna have to go ahead and clip that better. But last year we gave them supplemental lighting because it was the first time having them and we wanted eggs like immediately. I'm giving them a break this year. I will not be forcing my ladies to lay. They're gonna take the winter off and they're gonna follow the universe's natural clock and they are going to lay when it is time. But anyways, enjoy some rest, friends. Spend some time with your loved ones. I've got some videos coming out regarding the holidays, things like that, different garden stuff you can do, like gift ideas, wrapping for the gardener in your life, things like that. We will talk to you later. Bye.